All right, welcome back to the Forfeit Fatherhood, a podcast by fathers for fathers, where we talk about the four pillars of fatherhood, which are faith, family, finance, and fitness. And I got another guest with me today, man, and I'm really excited about this one. I had the privilege of playing college football with this young man. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal, and he's become even more of a dynamic person after football, and has gone on to do great things. So I'm excited to talk to him. I got brother Joe Johnson here today. Dr. Joe Johnson. Don't let me disrespect you there, player.
Put some
Joe, how
respect
you
on my
feeling
name, no.
today? How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm great, man. Appreciate you. It's been a minute. We've been trying to go back and forth, man. But man, I'm excited to have this conversation, man. And it's good. It's good to see your transition too, man. You just slimmed all the way down on me, bro.
Yeah, man. After I got done playing, I'm like, bro, why am I carrying this weight around like this? My knees don't need to hurt like this in the morning. Like, I just don't need to feel like this. So
For
made
real.
that change and been holding on to it ever since.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like I can go off of college stuff, but what is Joe Johnson? What is Joe Johnson doing right now?
Yeah. So when people ask me that question, I always tell them I am an angelic disruptor, right?
Ooh,
And what that
yeah.
means for me is I want to get into people's minds so they can totally think differently than what the world, society, parenting, traditional education. You need to be able to think for yourself, right? And when you talk about those four F's of fatherhood, right, that spirituality piece is extremely important. And so for me, spirituality is connected to purpose. So everything that I do is helping individuals unleash, not find or discover their purpose, because you don't find or discover your purpose. Your purpose is here already. So it's about unleashing it into the world. So what I do is I go around and I mentally decapitate people so they can think differently and then turn that into action and be intentional and purposeful in their lives.
Man, I don't know if y'all could tell, but this brother speaks to people. That might be the most dynamic answer I've ever gotten. Whoa, okay. He said he's decapitating people. Damn, that's dope. That's dope. So how long have you been doing that?
I'm gonna say, man, almost 20 years now. Since '06 is when I started.
Okay.
So, I mean, think about it though. As athletes, and I tell people this all the time. As athletes, you're used to being in front of an audience, right? You're used to performing in front of an audience. And when I finished college and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I've worked in K through 12 as a school counselor. I've worked in higher education. I've worked in corporate America. And in all of those spaces, my soul kept saying, this ain't it. This ain't it, right? And I had to find a career that gave me the same high as playing sports. And speaking does that for me. You practice, there's an audience, it's game time. Let's go.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That like being able to get back on the stage like that and show out, like show what you've been working on and see the response of the crowd. And yeah, I can see that. I can see that. You've been disrupted
but right, it's even more fulfilling because, when you play in sports, you get the win, the accolades, all that stuff, right? You might go to the NFL, whatever. But when somebody emails you and says, I was thinking about suicide, but when I heard you, my whole perspective on life adjusted. That's a different feeling, right, than sports.
Yeah, that hits you somewhere special, right? Like the roar of the crowd is fleeting, right? That comes and goes, and they boo you the same way they cheer you on, right? But to get that message, that email, something like that is life changing, not only for you but for the people that you're speaking to. And so, being able to go beyond just yourself and gratifying yourself and being able to help people is phenomenal.
That's phenomenal.
Right. So So you've been speaking for a while. Like, dude, you're like, first of all, you've been a disruptor for a long time. Let me go back. You had the cleanest dorm room I've ever seen in the history of dorm rooms. Like, to the point where I remember I first walked in and I'm like, he's got like a model dorm room. Like, you go into a model house and everything is set up. I'm like, bro, do you live here? Like, come on, man. It made me think about my room. Like, man, I need to go straighten up, man. If we go to this party later, I need to go clean my room.
Hey, I didn't play no games, man, because like my father was in the military, right? And it wasn't that he forced me to think like that, like always have your stuff in order, but I just grew up like making my bed, putting stuff in order. And I'm just a clean individual. And, back in the day, I was Joe Stud. So you can't come in my room as a young lady and it's terrible up in there, I ain't Joe Stud no more, though. Let me be very clear. My wife, she might laugh at that, but, anyway.
Yeah. That well for you, for sure clean, bro. Like I said, I've never, in all the years of college, all the dorm rooms I've been to, guys and girls, it was the cleanest room I've ever seen, and it literally made me consider, like, yo, I need to make sure my room is straight. Like this is that. Like, I'm a pretty clean dude too, but I was like, damn, I'm embarrassed about my room right now. Like, I need to go back. So yeah, so that's dope. So how many kids you got?
Got 2 sons.
Yeah,
10 and almost 8.
10 and 8. So we about the same, because my daughter, my oldest just turned 10. My youngest will be 8 October 1st.
See, yep, right there, yep.
Yeah. So you mentioned your father being in the military. How was your relationship with your dad?
It's good. I think my father, when my parents got divorced,
Okay,
I was very young, and my father's very chill. You know what I'm saying? But what's interesting is when I moved with my mother in elementary school. When I moved with my mother, I left 6th grade. It was interesting because I would hear, the parents sometimes still got animosity towards each other. So you hear little stuff about your pops. And it was interesting because my father was so quiet and just calm. You know what I'm saying? And my mother, she ain't play no games. I mean, she whooping ass. She like, you know what I'm saying? She's super nice and sweet, but you don't mess with her. And so I knew not to mess with my mama. But I'm saying all this to say they had some friction. But do you not know, after 30 years, they finally had a conversation and they got remarried.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's different. It's
very different. So I'm a grown man now. And I'm like, I can't believe they together. You know what I'm saying? And so the relationship that I've had with my father been the same. He always said he loved me. He always, we would talk on the phone, all that stuff. But my mother, I would say, was like the meat of everything that I learned. You know what I'm saying?
Got you. So you moved in with your mother in 6th grade, and then you stay with moms all the way through, or were you kind of split in time, or?
All the way through. My father was in a different state, and then he moved my senior year in high school. I think he retired from the military, and he came back to Milwaukee, where I'm from. And so it was cool for him to, come to my games, football and basketball, because your boy was balling on both sports. You know what I'm saying? Went to the state championship in basketball, player of the year in football. Anyways, though, but yeah. So, yeah, it was most of the time with my mother.
Got you. You know what's funny is I didn't realize that you had played basketball seriously. You know what I mean? When we was in college, I never really thought about it. You noon ball, right? You was balling the noon ball, but everybody thought they was balling the noon ball. And then I kind of looked back, was like, oh man, he actually played a little like real ball. Like, so that, like, I had no idea, bro. So you at one point was probably going to be a basketball player before being a football player. Like, would you have considered playing basketball first?
Yeah,
before always.
Before we were in school together, I went to a JUCO in Arizona. I went there to play football. Ended up playing basketball. And I was so a lot of people don't know the story. I went to Arizona Western Community College, and it was people from Cali, Texas, Georgia. So when you go in to play football with people from them states, they think they the cream of the crop. They think they better than everybody, right? And I was balling, you know what I'm saying? And the coach called me in the office one day and cut me, and I was like, "Hold on, what?" And we were so deep, and I said, "All right, cool." So I ended up playing basketball, but I was so mad because when somebody does something like that, that's telling me you don't think I could crush it out here, right? So that's when I went to a different community college in Kansas to get back ready for football. And then I ended up coming up to Michigan Tech.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I had no idea, bro.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So after you end up playing football, right? We played together, then you bounced, right? We had the whole team got cut, and you had to make.
Yep.
And I think I tell that story all the time because it's like it's not about you, obviously, but just the story in general. Because that's one of those times like the adversity and overcoming it, and I think everybody handled it the way that they needed to handle it, and from everyone that I've talked to involved in it, right? Everybody kind of made a decision that ended up working out best for them. Like, I don't feel like I talked to anybody that was like, man, I wish I would have did this or I wish I would have did that. Everybody's like, yo, I ended up where I was supposed to be. So you ended up transferring. Y'all won the championship right that year after, right?
Yeah, we were number one in the nation. We ended up losing in the playoffs by like 3. We should have won nationals that year. But, we had a lot of people go to NFL. I got a chance to work out for NFL teams, all that stuff. But I think the biggest thing, man, when you talk about what happened at Michigan Tech, for me, I was used to winning, right? And so from elementary, middle school, high school, I won championships. And so to come there and do great as an individual, but be a mediocre as a team, I didn't want that. You know what I'm saying? I would rather go somewhere, have less stats, but win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was up for, what was equivalent to Division II Heisman and all that stuff. That's cool. But when you losing, I mean, what that mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting, man, because I felt like we had a decent amount of talent, right? We had some spots where we needed help, right? But I feel like we had a decent amount of talent. We just couldn't put it together, right?
Yeah.
And that event, them cutting the team and then bringing it back and like kind of guys, bonding together, really kind of pulled it out of everybody. You know what I mean? I felt like the program was like, cool, just doing this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like we were just gonna float, and if we be 500, we be 500. We,
exactly.
We were 6-4. That's a good year. Like, I don't feel like we really ever had a challenge to force us to really play like we played the year we won the conference. But I think in life you need some of those moments, right? And that was my first like real. As an adult, right? You have those things as a kid, but it's not much you can do as a kid when these big life-changing events happen. You just kind of go with wherever your parents make you go, right?
Yeah.
But as an adult, that was my first chance to like, okay, I need to get my affairs in order. I need to make sure that I'm the best player that I could be for this team, the best student I could be. Like I had to rethink what I was doing, and I felt like a lot of guys had to do the same thing. And then, because of that, dudes start playing. Like guys was showing up week after week, with no, like we had that summer, in the summer people go home, right? Mm-hmm. People, we out, like ain't nobody staying up there. There's nothing to do in the summer.
None. Right.
My senior year, that summer, we had like 87 guys stay up. Like that's almost the whole squad. You know what I mean? Minus, a few guys that have to go far away. So guys made a commitment, and I think that was important for me because like now it's easier just to make commitments. Like, okay, this is what we're doing, right? As a father, as a man, this is what we're doing. Adversity strikes. All right, cool. Time to step up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm always thankful for that moment. That's why I talk about it a lot. I share it with my players. I talk about it with other people. Is because that was probably one of those times I called my dad crying. Like, we left the wood gym, and I got home and I was like, Dad, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. Like, I'm gonna have to come home And we, coaches start calling like right away, right? You start getting recruited like right away.
Yeah.
I was like, I was devastated, because I didn't have no plan B at that point.
You know what? And that it's crazy because I think at that time, we were 18, 19, however old we was, 20, I don't know, 21, I don't know. But at that time, I wasn't thinking about what everybody else was doing. I was like, what am I going to do? I could care less what everybody else was doing. And like a lot of people don't even know this, bro. And I'll share it because, I can care less now. When I ended up Saginaw, I went and had a secret meeting with the head coach, right?
Yeah.
They came and picked me up, drove me to Saginaw to drop myself off, then drove me to Milwaukee. Like, it was like, people didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? And it was cool at the time to feel like, okay, bam, I'm getting these special privileges. But what hurt was the fact that I found out that me being one of the best players at Tech, I wasn't getting the scholarship money that I should have got. And I didn't learn that till after the fact. And this is why when people get mad at like professional players when they leave and go to other squads, I'm like, don't do that, because it's a business for some, and if they can take advantage of you, they will take advantage of you if you're not privy to information.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
So that and Bernie, he was mad at me for some years, and I can care less. I'm like, man, I had to get up out of there. Like, especially if I found out you was playing me, man, I was gone.
Yeah. Bernie take everything personally though, right? Everything is personal with him. There's no like, I mean, obviously it's business, right? But he took business personal, right?
Yeah.
He's upset about everything. So but you did the right thing. You did the right thing, right? You made the right move. You did what was in your best interest, because as a program, they was doing what was in their best interest, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's fast forward. So, you finish up at school. Yeah, opportunity to try to play in the NFL. That doesn't go the way you want it to. And I know there's got to be some feelings tied around that at that time, right? Because that's people look up that's the dream, right? But that doesn't work out. And so then you mentioned you go into the education space. How was that transition from being Harlan Hill finalist Joe Johnson to Counselor Johnson?
So this is what happened. I'm realizing I haven't really shared this story a lot. What happened was I ended up, once I graduated from Saginaw, I worked out for the teams. I didn't get a call from any of the NFL teams. So I told myself, I said, I'm going to get this thing. I'm going hard for a year. I had a trainer. I was working. I went to work and I had a trainer. That's all I did. And then I ended up working out for at the CFL camp, getting it in, right? And this one of the teams was really feeling me. And then they called me, said they went bankrupt for the upcoming year. I said, what? And It was like Tech all over again. You know what I'm saying? So I was at the point when that happened, I ended up going to play arena. I was in Atlanta. Then I went back to Michigan to play arena football. And I realized, like, as a running back, arena is not what's up. And the other thing is, I didn't love football. I was just good at it. You know what I mean? I love basketball. You know what I mean? But, a lot of people don't know that story. And I just was like, you know what? I'm done. It is what it is. Did it hurt when it was over? It hurt. And I couldn't watch football for a minute. But I was like, I don't even like it. Like, some people love football. I wasn't like that. I was just good at it.
Yeah. Okay. And so, okay, you said it, and obviously you're more introspective now, but like that's normally crushing for guys, right? It's normally like it break you down, right? When you finally, because and luckily for you, you had kind of like a dual identity, right? Like you play basketball and you play football. But for guys who just play football, that's what they've assigned their identity to, is I'm a football player and this is what I do. And they're not even really taking school serious. Like, they going to school for football, right? And so then when football gets taken away, they don't really know how to handle it. They don't have the emotional intelligence to overcome that. How were you able to do that?
Well, I was the same way. My identity was Joe Johnson, the athlete, right? Football and basketball. Then it was just football in college, because that's, my first year was football and basketball, but then it was just football. And when I worked out for those NFL teams and I didn't get a call, that hurt. That hurt right there, because a couple other my homies, they ended up going as free agents from school, right? And it hurt, but I think, just like you, I think I cried. I called my mother. I called my grandmother. And it was a point where I was just like, it is what it is. Now, how we going to move forward? And that's when I said, I'm going to give it another year, and I'm going to work out with a trainer, CFL stuff, tried that, did the arena. And it wasn't meant to be. That's how I look at it. I was supposed to go through that. And I ended up going to graduate school because I met a professor when I was working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I was playing arena at the same time.
Okay. So professor kind of talked you into going back to school, or talked to you about just letting it go, or like how did that work out?
Well, Enterprise, they're what they say is, we'll pick you up. So if you rent the car, they'll come pick you up and bring you back to get the car. And I was taking him home, and his name was Dr. Lonnie Duncan. Rest in peace. He passed away, but he was one of the coolest black male professors in the counseling psychology program. And I ended up meeting him and another black professor, Dr. Joe Morris, and ended up having a conversation with them. And I ended up getting into that program on a probationary status, because you got to understand, when I came out of high school, I had a 1.6. When I came out of college, I only had a 2.4. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like my grades were screaming, go to grad school. Right. It was just kind of like, after having a conversation with him, I said, I'm going to look into it. And I did. And it ended up being the best decision, because I was actually doing great in school, because it was stuff that I liked, counseling field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in graduate school.
Yeah, that's it's important to kind of note just real quick, is that both of those gentlemen, Lonnie sounds like he's a black man. Both the gentlemen are black.
Both
right?
of them are black men.
Yeah. Like I had one. I think I might have had one in all 5 years of college. One black professor. Shoot, I don't even know if she was black though. She might have been. It was at a JUCO.
Okay.
So honestly, I didn't have none at Tech. Everybody, I was in a biomedicine. At Tech.
You definitely had.
Everybody was white. But the representation, having somebody in that field being able to talk to you and I'm sure speak to you like in the language that you understand, and being able to kind of convey the message, definitely probably helped push you in that way, or at least allowed you to open your ears to hear it more.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that we don't have, not that we don't have enough of it, because I know it's people that's doing it, and I don't want to discredit them or act like they're not getting it done, but representation matters for sure. And having two black male, right, professors took you, like you said, you wasn't a rock star in school, like, and maybe, and not because you're not smart, right? Because you always seem smart to me. Like it wasn't like you just probably didn't like school. Like school was just whatever. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go to these classes because I got to, but it's whatever. And then to see you excel to the point where now you're a doctor. Like, is that something you ever saw yourself being, was a doctor?
Hell no. No, man, absolutely not. And I think what happened was when I was doing my master's. I'm gonna share this, and I don't even share this a lot. When I was doing my master's, I enjoyed what I was doing. I was in the counseling space, right? And the faculty said, you know what, you should apply for our PhD program. We really like you, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yo, let me get through this master's thing first. Like, chill out. Let me get. And so I ended up applying. I interviewed, and these blanks denied me. I said, wait a minute. You all been pressuring me to apply. I apply, interview, and then you deny me? Oh, bro, that pissed me off right there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, imagine like somebody saying, we really want to hire you. We want you. They recruiting you hard, right? You go apply, you do the interview, and it's like, and my interview wasn't even bad. I know that for sure, right? But this is what happened. Because when you understand this game that you playing in, what I did was I said, oh, so once again, I got somebody telling me that I can't do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I applied for another master's. And what I did is I took some of the classes that I would have to take in the PhD program.
Ah.
I aced those. And then I had two other schools. University of Iowa wanted me. I got into University of Iowa, right? But then University of Florida, I ended up getting married, and my wife got a job down there. And I ended up meeting those professors, and I ended up getting there. And that was ranked like top 3 schools in the nation. University of Florida, it was top 3. So it wasn't meant for me to be at Western Michigan where they did that to me. But guess what? You kill them with success. You don't get mad. They ended up calling me a couple years later saying, oh, we want you on our magazine, blah, blah, blah. And what did I do? Okay, I'll be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's dope, man. So you end up in Florida. You got your PhD down in Florida?
At the University of Florida. Yep. I was working for the University of Florida.
Okay.
And I got my PhD. So when you work for them, they pay for it. I was hustling the system, baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. That's the best way to do it, man. That's the best way to do it. So you got married, you moved down. When between marriage and getting your PhD, when did you guys have your first child?
2012. We got to Florida in 2011. Boop boop. That next year, she had our first son, JoJo.
And then how was that? Were you were still in school, right? Like you're still in school, you're working, you're in school, your wife is working, now she's pregnant, and now you're about to have a baby. How was that? How was wrapping your head around that?
It was crazy because I was working full time at the university. Mm-hmm. I was in school full time. I was building my own business, Joe Johnson Group, right?
Yeah.
I was writing 2 books at the time. You know what I'm saying? And then this baby coming, I'm like, man, when she told me she was pregnant, I felt like I was in high school and somebody telling me they're pregnant. I was like, what? But then I was like, dang, I'm grown and married. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But it was scary though, man. It was scary. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, man. It sounded like you had a lot going on. 2 books, you building your business, you in school, you got all these things going on. And then you throw fatherhood on top of it. Going from like being, student, businessman, husband, entrepreneur to now father. Was there some changes that you made with yourself or some things that you changed, or you just kind of like just added that into the fold?
Both. I added it, but there was a lot that I had to learn. For example, I remember one time, my wife said to me, like, your mind is always everywhere, right? And I was like, what you talking about? She was like, you need to be a little bit more present, right? And so when I was with my kids, what I realized, I would be sitting there, but I might be on my laptop. They're watching cartoon. Like, I'm not like just with them, right? So I was there, but I wasn't present. You feel me? And so I had to learn to give them time with me. Not time with my laptop and, halfway doing this. I had to learn that I had to be there. And if they want me to watch the same damn cartoon over and over again, I need to watch the same cartoon.
Yeah. Let's stay with that, because that's something that a lot of guys struggle with, man. And I know I had that struggle and I had to overcome it myself. Is like you want to be there, right? Because you know that's important. But at the same time, you got to pay these bills and you got these dreams and ambitions and goals for yourself that you're trying to chase. And then you got to be a good husband. And so you got all these things kind of running through your head. Was there something? Obviously, you did it, right? Like you just boom, put your hand down. It's like I'm gonna be present. But was that a process, or was just like you flipped the switch and then you was super dad?
Definitely wasn't no flip the switch, bro. It's a process, man, because I believe that every one of us in this world, we're seeking and searching for meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on this journey of trying to figure out who you are and which is your identity, and what you should be doing, which is your purpose, that's a journey within itself. So when you have everything else happening, it's rough. And if you're with an individual who's not tapped in or aligned with their purpose, there can be a lot of struggle there in partnership, right? In that relationship, in fatherhood, and I'm talking man or woman, right? Motherhood. And so when you're able to sit and realize and be in that sweet spot of your purpose, it's easier to be a father.
Mm. Yeah. Talk to us about that a little bit, man, because you know, we hear all the time you should be pursuing your passions and you know, chasing your dreams, and you talk a lot about purpose. Like how do I know if something is my purpose or if it's just my passion or if it's you know, how do I separate? Like how do I figure out what it is that I should be chasing, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first thing you know, a lot of times we have debates or arguments about certain words and certain phrases or whatever. And a lot of times people are speaking from two different definitions of things, right? And so I always say, let's go to the fundamentals of what the word means. So if you look at the fundamental definition of the word dream, it's thoughts or ideas that may or may not come true. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you go and look at the fundamental definition of purpose, it's the reason for which something or someone exists. Mm-hmm. That alone for me, purpose is more powerful than this word dream. But so many of us throughout our lives been told, dream big, follow your dreams. And I get it. And there's a lot of people doing that. But a lot of people get to what they think they want as their dream, and they realize it has nothing to do with their purpose. Purpose and dreams are not the same thing. And it's a feeling, right? I tell people it's a feeling where you know this is it right here. But this is the tricky part, because the way in which most people are taught in terms of purpose is like, I'm going to find and discover my purpose, and I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. That's not real. That's not real. What it is this. You have to tap into the initial layer of your purpose, and then you'll get introduced to all the other layers of your purpose, right? And so for me, it was speaking. I never knew. I always felt that, I shouldn't be working as a school counselor. I shouldn't be doing this. I just couldn't figure it out. And once I unleashed this feeling of being a speaker and I did it, man, I got opportunities coming left and right. I was in rooms with people I never thought I would be in rooms with. I was asking and getting money that I didn't think I would ever get. And so that's what I mean by you have to tap into that initial layer first, and then you'll get introduced to the layers of the different levels of your purpose.
Got you. So you just kind of, you gotta tap in, you gotta plug in and see if that's it.
Well, and let me add this too, because it's important. This is important. There's a level of trial and error. There's a level of, let me dip my toes in this to see. Because what so many people are doing nowadays is they're borrowing the goals of their parents or people who are adults and are raising them. What I mean by that is, when you go to college, I'm not paying for your college tuition if you don't do engineering, if you don't do biomedical, if you don't do, right? And that has nothing to do with the love of the individual, what they want. And now they're doing stuff that has nothing to do with what's here because somebody said that's where the money is. And then they get pissed off at themselves and the people who told them to go there. So it's important for us to nurture the gifts that we have and the gifts of others, especially our children. My sons just now started playing sports. I didn't tell them, hey, play football, play basketball. I was like, let me put them in everything. Let me see what they want to do. My son, he's a little actor, dancer, singer. Like, he's an entertainer. My youngest, y'all better watch out for him. That boy going to be a beast. He's going to be a beast on that. I don't know what it's going to be, boxing, football, basketball, soccer, but he got he got it in him.
Yeah. Do you think that purpose finds you, right? Because I know we talked about like chasing things, but like, do you think that you find your purpose or your purpose finds you?
No, bro. Listen. This is my perspective. I truly believe, if you believe in source, if you believe in God, if you believe in whoever you believe in, I believe, right, that God plants whatever here. You're here for a reason, right? Remember, what's the definition of purpose? The reasons for which something or someone exists, right? So if you believe in source, if you believe in a higher power, you believe in God, for me, it's here. That's why I say it don't find you, because it's already here. But you have to do the things, right? Working on yourself, right? Removing all those traumatic experiences. You got to do some healing work in order to be able to say, that's it. There it is. Everybody looks outside for what's really right here. And that's part of the issue we have in this world. Everybody's looking at everything. We're looking for people to tell us what we should do. We're looking for people to tell us, oh, this is how we should feel. Listen, when you do that work on yourself and you learn who you are, right? When you do that healing, you release that trauma. When you release all of those, that negative mindset, that folks, man, you gonna feel it, and you gonna know exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah. I feel that because I've told this story before on the podcast. Actually, in 2011, I was in Florida too, for at least half the year. I was working with the New York Mets at the time, and just in strength and conditioning, like working with a professional team is like the top, right? Like you get to work in the pros, like that's what everybody wants to do. And I was there, and I'm like, this ain't it. Like, yo, it's cool, but I'm, after all the baseball activities is done, I'm going back to the apartment by myself, sitting there, and I'm like, man, this ain't it. This ain't it. So I had that feeling, and I'm just thinking maybe I'm just lonely, right? Because my wife isn't there. She's back in California, and I'm like, oh, I'm just lonely. And so I go through the first season, get halfway through the second, and find out that she's pregnant. And I felt like literally immediately, like I felt like I got pierced. You know what I mean? When she said, hey, I'm late. I was like, huh? I'm like, where you going? Like, what you mean you late? She's like, yeah, no, I think I'm pregnant. I took a test, and I got to go to the doctor. And immediately, dog, I'm telling you, like, I felt like something was like, that's it. And I was like, I'm gonna be a dad. And I forgot all about I'm a coach. I'm trying to get to major league. Like, I forgot all about all that. And I was like, yo, I called my coordinator. I was like, yo, I'm gonna ride this season out because I made a commitment, but I don't think I'm coming back. And he was like, what? What do you mean? Because I was strength coach of the year that year. I was up to be promoted to AAA after that season. Like I'm one step away from the big leagues. Yeah. He's like, what, are you crazy, man? You like have her move out. I'm like, yo, I can't. First of all, she has a life. She has a career, and she's doing what she's doing. And I can't imagine me being all over the country while she's going through this pregnancy by herself. Can't imagine my daughter potentially being born and I'm on some baseball field, like stretching some guy out, or in a weight room, like, you know what I mean? Spotting a squat. Like I can't, man. I can pursue strength and conditioning from home where I'm supposed to be. And he was like, yeah, he had a couple, I think he had four kids. And he's like, I understand. But if you change your mind, let me know. And season ended, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to change my mind. Like my exit interview, I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. So, I was like, y'all get a California team? Sure. You know what I mean? But nah, man, I'm staying in California. I gotta be there for my kids. And like it's even to this day, and this is why I do this podcast, is because fatherhood is so important to me in my own kids' lives, but then also being able to have other fathers share their experiences so that other fathers can take those experiences and become better fathers. Like just building out a community of great fathers. I feel too, selfishly, one, is going to make the world better for my daughters, right? Because I want them to have a better world than we're in right now. But then two, is if fathers get better, just by default, the world gets better, right? So this is my gift back to the world. Like God gave me them, and I'm going to try to give better fathers to the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I felt like like I'm telling you, man, I don't know how it feels for everybody else when they find their purpose, but for me, it was like, that's it. Like I was certain. Like I was 100% certain. Like there was no wavering. There was no that shaky phone call. Like I don't know what I'm gonna say. I was like, yo, I'm out. And
but this is the thing, Ron, and you're hitting it on the money. I remember being at the University of Florida. Once again, I had my first son. No, I had my second son too. All of that I told you was going on. Working full time, school full time, building a business, fatherhood. And for like a year or two, I kept saying, I gotta leave working at the University of Florida. And you know how you keep saying, I'm gonna leave. And it's like you still there. Like a year or 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, you still there. And I said to myself, man, I know this ain't right. And so what I did, and to be very honest and blunt, I don't go to church, but my relationship with God has gotten deeper with the work that I've been doing on my own and with some of the spiritual leaders that I follow, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember just praying and praying and praying. And when it felt good right here, I set the date. I said, no matter what, I'm out. But it was the feeling that I got right here. And that's why I believe your purpose is connected to your soul. And there's a spiritual connection there that a lot of people don't understand. And when you're not in alignment spiritually, right? I say mindset, heart set, soul set. When there's a misalignment, you're not going to be able to see what you need to see or feel what you need to feel. Because a lot of people have those feelings of, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be in this relationship. But they stay there because they don't know how to listen to their soul.
Yeah. Just that misalignment creates confusion, right? And so you feel like you shouldn't be there, but you don't know where you should be. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna stay where it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just keep doing this, and then maybe something will happen. But I think what you said about setting the date and like committing to it, and just like, this is gonna be the day, and then I'm gonna figure it out at that point. I'm gonna work, and I'm not just gonna wait till it's over. I'm gonna work till it's over.
Right.
And then, whatever happens after that is going to be what it is.
Yep. And and similar to what you were saying when you first told the guy, like, I don't think I'm coming back. Some people are not going to understand why you're doing what you're doing. And that's okay. As long as you understand, it's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you mentioned it briefly. So you're still in Florida. You have your second son. How was it adding now another son to the mix? How did that?
Look here. The worst part about it was seeing that daycare bill go up. Oh my goodness.
I was so happy when they got out of that, bro. That is crazy. They say kids are expensive. You be thinking, diapers and clothes, because they be out of clothes in like 2 weeks, right? You buy some clothes, you can't fit them no more. But when you get to putting them into the daycare, that's what they talking about.
Busting you over the head. I remember my wife. She was like, "Yeah, I found a daycare. It's like 2 something." I was like, "Bet." I'm thinking 2 something a month. Man, It was every week we gotta pay this. And then we had to add another child to that. I'm like, yo.
Yeah. And then they give you that sibling rate that make you feel like they be trying to make you feel like that's a good deal.
Right,
like,
right.
Oh, man. That sibling rate is just a little bit less than what I'm already paying.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. So how, they're 8 and 10 now, right? Or about to be 8.
About to be 8.
And so obviously you've had, some time to really kind of embrace your fatherhood and be, you're not working in the corporate setting anymore. You kind of creating your own schedule and doing your thing and living in your purpose. What's your dynamic with them now? Like, you get to spend a lot of time with them, or because I know you travel, right? Like, I see you in the hotel room right now, and from when they were younger, you got to be present. So how are you balancing that now?
So I make sure, like, when I go home, it's just time, right? Like, present time with them, I do the things, I try to create memories, right? So, for example, I had them in swim lessons, like once a week. And I'm like, yo, it's 3 months. Yo, what's up? Y'all ain't swimming yet. I got a problem with paying all this money and y'all ain't swimming. So what did I do? I said, you know what? We going old school. Y'all coming with daddy. We did 9 days in a row in the pool. On that 9th day, they were swimming back and forth across the pool. You know what I'm saying? So just little stuff like that, I'm proud of, right? I spend time. And they love to spend time with me, especially both of them love to spend time with me. But my youngest is like attached to my hip because we're exactly alike, right? But both of them, as long as you got to enjoy the time when they want to spend with you, right?
Yeah.
And so, sometimes we'll just watch movies, we chilling. I'll just take them out, do whatever. But man, just spending that time. It ain't got to be nothing major. We just go to the park and throw the ball or something. You know what I mean? So I make sure to do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we because time is so valuable and time, it's hard to find the time, right? You obviously got to make the time. But when we like start to think about, I got to spend time with my kids, it becomes like this big thing, right? But it doesn't really have to be because they like every minute of present time to them is like hours. Like, we spent all day with dad. And you be like, it's been 10 minutes. Like we ain't even really scratched the surface on doing nothing yet. But they be like, dad, you know what I mean? And I think we just have to understand that taking, and I say this with my like fitness clients, like microdose it if you have to, right? Like we may not all have an hour to go to the gym. It's not realistic for everybody. But if you can get like 15 minutes here in the morning, maybe you get like a little 10-minute thing here, another 5, like you kind of break it up. And as long as it's effective, right? And you have the intent and you're present fully, that 10 minutes in the morning that where you're getting them ready for school and then the pickup time and you in the car and y'all vibing and really talking about what's going on with their day, that adds up. And it feels like, oh man, like anytime I had today, I had with that, you know what I mean? It really is beneficial for them and for you because you feel good about it.
That's right. Real. That's right.
So I think it's just like, I mean, the theme is always going to be present, right? You have to be fully available. And I had the same situation. Like when I first left my like in-person training and started doing virtual stuff, like I'll be on the computer, like, you know what I mean? Like I gotta send this email. I gotta check this workout. I gotta do this. And they're there, right? Because we at home together but I look over and they looking at something. I'm looking at something like, we're not even here together. Like you could have been gone 20 minutes ago and I wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
And so being, closing that thing down and just really just showing up in their life is super important. Super important.
That's real.
So I got to ask you, cause this is personal, guys, whatever, podcast over. My daughter, my youngest is into what she wants to act. She did a, acting camp over the summer, singing, dancing, acting was like a full thing. They actually did a movie, had a movie premiere, which I wasn't expecting it, but it was super cool. We went to the movie theater, the whole 9, popcorn, everything. Right. And so now we're trying to get her a little bit more into it, trying to find, ways to kind of help her pursue that because she really enjoys it. With your oldest, is he going to just like classes after school or you guys doing something a little bit more intense?
Yeah. So, he's been in acting, classes before. Okay. And it's interesting because he was doing the acting classes and he was like, I don't want to do this no more. I said, well, finish this out and you ain't got to do the next, because they do them in increments, right? Mm-hmm. And he's really good at it. But I was like, I'm not forcing him to do something he don't want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's interesting because an audition came and he went and auditioned for Moana, like the musical, and he got a part. So he fell back in love. Then he auditioned for Willy Wonka Kids, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Mm-hmm. He got like the lead part. You know what I mean? And so I'm saying all that to say a lot of this has been like his natural talent. And we just took him to New York for his 10th birthday to see MJ the Musical, which was amazing, and Hamilton, because he really likes Hamilton.
Yeah.
But MJ was better than Hamilton, just to be very clear, right? And I have a cousin that's been on Broadway for years, and so we connected with him, and now we're about to pump it up to do like voice lessons and more acting, and because now he's really serious about it, and he knows what it takes to be on a stage like Broadway, and so just now we're starting to get more serious. So early on, it wasn't, it was here and there doing some stuff, but now it's about to take it up another notch.
Okay. All right. So just let her explore, right? Let her kind of feel her way around. Yeah, because it's funny. She's a character, right? She's a character. She's never off. She's always on.
Right.
And we have been talking about it for years. Like, hey, we'll get you some acting later. You should be in a movie. Like, it's too much, right? And then she's always been against it until this summer. She was like, I want to take acting classes. Now she's nonstop. Record me doing this and record me doing this and record. Like, okay, all right. So we found what you really like to do, and it may not be what you do forever, but it's what you want to do right now. So let's nurture that. Let's figure out where we can go with it, what we should do, and then just let her kind of expand in it, right? Like just kind of get her into it, right? Let her find the levels of it, like you talked about with purpose, right? So I just was curious because I saw a video of him acting. I'm like, oh man, is okay. He ain't messing around. He ain't messing around. So I was. But
that's on him though. Like, those parents who like the helicopter parents. They're like, hey, no, I didn't do none of that. Me and my wife, we didn't do none of that. He wanted to do it. We like, cool. But now he's like, he's like, when they start saying stuff like, this is going to be my career. I love this. I want to go here. Like, I'm like, all right, let's take it to another level. You know what I'm saying? So you'll know when it's time to do that. But, let her have fun. And, because that stuff can be, for some, it could feel like a job at a young age. And you don't want it to feel like that,
Right, yeah. And I feel the same way about sports, especially because my oldest they both play softball, but like in Southern California, like baseball, softball is year round. Like it ain't no off season. And I keep telling her, like, as you get older, it's going to get more serious. I just want you to have fun right now because I know what it's going to turn into. Yeah. And like the older you get, the more you're going to have to kind of like start taking it serious. And the other day she was like, she called it work. Like she was like, I got to go to work today. I'm like, man, all right, we got to pull it back a little bit. I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to make this fun for you because, she's a pitcher. She plays second base. She can hit pretty well. So like on her team right now, she's one of the better players. And so they're on her, right? They're like pushing, like, you know what I mean? When you got the good kids on the team, you got to make sure they perform, right? So they're on her and about, are you doing extra work afterwards? They calling me, hey, did she pitch today? Like, come on, man. Like, hey, you make it work for everybody.
Right.
So I'm trying to find ways to like keep it fun. Like the games are always fun, right? Like you have fun in the games, but it's the time leading up to it that I got to try to keep fun. So she wants to continue to do it and doesn't get burned out. Because at 10 years old, you can't get burnt out at 10. That's way too. You burn out when you're 20, right? You burnt out at 10. So I'm trying to figure out ways, and that's why I'm asking about the acting thing because I can see already, just with the things she did this summer. There was a singing component, there was an acting component. She had to try to be funny and be serious. Like she had all these different little things that she had to try to do, and she had a little monologue she had to study. And I'm like, dang, it seemed like a lot for a 7-year-old. So I'm trying to find the best way to address it, and trying to make sure that they enjoy whatever it is that they do. That's for enjoyment, right? Now, if it's part of it is struggling, then we just got to go through the struggle, right? But if we're doing it to enjoy it, let's find out ways we can still enjoy it. And that's what I'm kind of looking for.
I'm gonna send you the class that my son was taking. It was virtual. They're in Cali though, and so they do in person and they do virtual. And this was during the pandemic when they went all virtual, but they do in person and virtual. I'm gonna have to send you that information so you can check them out.
Yeah, for sure. Please do that. Okay, so we've covered a lot. We talked about a little bit of everything. But I got a couple questions for you. Just a couple final questions to kind of put a bow on this thing and really wrap it up. So it's a fatherhood podcast. Obviously, we've talked about fatherhood, but I don't know that we got to figuring out and hearing from you, what does fatherhood mean to you?
Yeah. Fatherhood to me means being able to share all the parts of you to your children, right? Being close enough to be able to cry in front of your children, being able to laugh, being able to let them see your faults, let them see your successes, right? Letting them see you adapt, letting them see you adjust. It's the ability to teach them with your actions versus your words, right? And so when I think about me as a father, I want to be the individual that comes to mind when they're in a situation and they say, what would my father do? Right? So that's how I think of fatherhood.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, I think as men, man, we struggle with having a full wheel of emotions. And then not only do we struggle with having them, right? But we really struggle with sharing them, right?
Yeah,
Opening up
sure.
and being vulnerable enough to, like you said, to cry, like to give your child all of you, right? Because we kind of want to present ourselves as unshakable, unbreakable, right? We're the rock of the family, and everybody depends on us. But it's important to let them know that, especially when you have sons who are now also going to be fathers and leaders of their household, that a leader isn't invincible, right? Like there are going to be times where he's going to be tested, and he's maybe even broken at times, but he has the ability to overcome those because of it, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
super important. Okay, last question. It's a two-part question. And since you are a dynamic speaker, you're going to give a talk to a room, big room, right? Stadium. You sold out the stadium. You sold out MSG, right? Everybody's coming to see Dr. Joe, and stadium is filled with fathers. Fathers only. The concession stand is full of fathers. The ushers are fathers. And you get to go on and talk about whatever you want to talk about. What is the message you want those fathers to hear?
Yeah. The message I always share, right? But I will start with two questions. Who are you? Is the first question. And the second question would be, what have you been lying to yourself about? Right? And the reason I would do that is because as men, a lot of times, one of the phrases that we like to use is, I'll figure it out. Right? One of the phrases we like to use is, I could do this. I could do it by myself. I got this. Right? And as men, that's false. It's false. Right? And so we lie to ourselves and we create this programming of what we're supposed to look like. Well, let me say it like this: what we think we're supposed to look like versus what we actually should be and who we should be and what we should look like, right? And so those questions, who are you? I will walk them through an activity, right, on identity. And then I will have them write down some of the things that they've been lying to themselves about. And then I would end, right, with how many of you all have a therapist? How many of y'all have done any work in terms of internal healing, right? You may have all the money in the world, right? You may be a millionaire. You may have the cars, the homes, the women, the woman, whatever, partner, whoever it may be. But have you done that work on yourself, right? And that's what's most important, because when you start doing the work on yourself, you're able to unleash your purpose. You're able to be who you're supposed to be. Now you can be the father that you need to be. Because I'm sorry, if you're not working on yourself, you will have flaws in your fatherhood.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, fellas, right now, write it down. Like, who are you? Right? And what are you lying to yourself about? Those are two very powerful questions. Very powerful questions. And the answers don't line up. Like, if you're being honest with it and you answer that and they don't line up with who you say you are or who you think you are, then you definitely need to do the work. You definitely should be doing the work. I mean, you should be doing the work anyway, right? Like, you don't have to have a therapist because you have problems, right? You should be seeing It's like I said, like it's like oil change, right? Your car don't have to break down. You go get the oil change. Like, you know, it's time for oil change. Like, you're not gonna let the engine lock up. You don't have to wait that long. Just go get it checked out. Like, go get that annual service or whatever it is. Okay, second part to this question. You're in a much more intimate venue, smaller setting. It's warm, it's comfortable. Because of the smaller setting, you don't need ushers, you don't need concessions. It's a sold out crowd, but it's only 2 people. And those 2 people are your sons. What message do you want them to hear?
Watch me fall and watch me get back up. Watch me fall. Watch me get back up. Watch me fall. Watch me get back up. And guess what? Every time that I fall, I want you to pay attention to how I get back up. There may be times where I can do it on my own. There may be times where I can't do it on my own. But the one thing that you're always going to see me do is ask for help and take the lesson out of whatever I went through.
Yeah, that's powerful too, man. I should have known asking these questions you was gonna give us some gems, man. But yeah, I think you, again, 100%, bro. I getting back up, asking for help, how you get back up, right? Because a lot of times we get back on our feet, but we don't let nobody know how we did it. You know, we hide that from everybody. We just want to show that we doing good, and we don't show that, you know, it was a process getting back to the top. Yeah, process being able to stand on our own 2 feet again. We just disappear, right? We ghost people, and then we show back up where we okay. And that's important, again, to be vulnerable with the people that are closest to you, right? It draws them closer to you. It endears them to you because you're not impossible, right? Like, I think we all at some point look at our dad as like our first superhero. And we see superheroes, and we only remember them as being superheroes. But if you look at any movie, right, and this is why I don't like Marvel movies, and you guys can crucify me for that, is that every movie is exactly the same. They're exactly the same no matter who the character is. He's Superman, and then Superman's losing, right? They beating Superman's ass, right? And then all of a sudden, Superman comes DC, back, and
just so you know, Superman is DC.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I'm messing with you. Hey, it's the same thing. Okay, we can go Rocky. It's the same thing, right? All of these hero movies, it's all the same. It's like we only remember the hero for the heroic stuff that they're doing, but somewhere along the middle of the movie, that hero was getting the dog snot beat out of him, right? Like, he's losing, and then he comes back and he becomes the hero again. And when we celebrate, and we're running up the stairs with Rocky, and we're cheering because the hero overcame adversity, and we forget that part, right? Like, we know Rocky fought the Russian guy. We know he fought, and we know who he fought, but we ain't really focused on how badly he was getting beat, right? We don't remember those punches. We remember when Rocky ducked one and caught him. Like, we remember when he started being Rocky again. But it's super important to understand that even your heroes have struggles that they overcome. And the struggle is not to be forgotten, right? It's a lesson in that struggle, right? And we got to take that lesson and move forward. And that's really important to share with your kids at all ages, right? At some ages, they may not be ready to hear, they may not be ready to experience it. But even babies fall down and get back up and keep walking.
That's right.
Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, it's not reserved just for adults. Everybody needs to learn those lessons. And it's important that as fathers, we share them with our children.
You got me thinking. I share this all the time. And what I tell people is, and this is usually just in conversation, I say, from my experience in this world that we live in, they love winners. Like, absolutely. When you win it, they love you. But they love to see you fall, right? It's always interesting. Sports, dynasty teams, they ball and they kill every single year. And people start to get mad at them and hate on them. Like, yo. But so they love you when you're winning. They even more, they love to see you fall. But even more in this world we live in, they love the comeback. They love the comeback story. You know what I'm saying? So the comeback is always available. Always.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. Like the redemption story, right?
Yep.
How they came back is always, it always sells. It always sells. But yeah,
Yep.
when you're winning, when you're up, man, like Patriots were, rocking for the longest of times, right? And every year people are like, man, I hate the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
People still hate the Cowboys. Haven't been real good in a long time. People still hate the Cowboys because of the dynasty. You know what I mean? Like
Yep. Yep.
people hate the Warriors. You know what I mean? Like for no reason. It's just a bunch of good dudes. They're not out like
Yep.
beating up people and getting like scandals and nobody's getting in
Exactly.
trouble. They just winning games. People like I hate them. Can't wait till they
Yeah.
lose. But if they lose and come back, everybody's gonna jump right on that wagon. Oh man,
That's right.
look at the Warrior. So yeah, that's super dope. Hey
And
man,
that's why I love my hometown Milwaukee Bucks, baby. It took 50 years, but Giannis didn't go nowhere, and we got that championship.
Yeah, yeah. And that's again one of those they would say it's like a Cinderella story, right? Like, but it was work put in. It was work. Like guys were working, and struggling and failing, and building off the last guy, right? And taking a step back and then building back up so they get to this point. But it's all that work that led up to it, right? It's not something that happens overnight. And people will see it that way. Like, oh, they sucked last year and all of a sudden they were good this year. But that ain't it, man. Guys are working and getting better.
Yep.
All right, man. So if people want to get in touch with you, people want to, well, let me back up. Are you I know you're doing some coaching. I know I see it pop up on my timeline. I know you're doing some things. You want to talk to us a little bit? I'll give you the opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about, because I think it's an important work from what I've seen, right? I haven't obviously been in a part of the program, but from the ads that I've seen and from the things that you posted, I think you're doing some really, really good work. And I want to give you the opportunity to talk about that just for a minute, kind of, because I think it's something that could benefit everybody. But I think a lot of fathers could see a lot of growth from that as well.
Yeah. So research says about 52% of Americans are unhappy at work. They say about 71% are disengaged, and another 50-some% are actively looking for a new job while at work, right? And I know for me, I've been in all of those spaces, right? In terms of my mindset and where I was in life. And so everything I do is purposeful and intentional. So part of my purpose is to help individuals transition from where they are to where they want to be. And that's what my coaching program does, right? So if you feel like you want to move up in whatever career that you're in right now, I help you in that transition. If you feel like you want to go to a totally different career, I help you in that transition. If you feel like you want to go from career to being an entrepreneur, I'll help you in that, because that transition piece is what I focus on. How do you get from where you are to where you want to be? And I'm helping you all through here and coaching you for 12 weeks to get through. So my program is very simple, right? You can go to workwithdrjoe.com. I do a masterclass every single month, walking people through a particular method that I created. But most important, just go to workwithdrjoe.com, WorkWithdrjoe.com, workwithdrjoe.com. Or if you're on Instagram all the time, shoot me a DM. I'm probably going to send you right to workwithdrjoe.com, but send me a DM at Joe Johnson Sports.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's important to note, because like I said, a lot of fathers being the provider in the household, or at least feeling like the need to be the provider in the household, are in careers where they're not being fulfilled, are doing jobs that they hate because they have to do them. But it could be really nice to have a job and a career and a life that you really enjoy all the way around, right?
Yeah.
And so making that transition and getting the coaching to make that transition. So, because the thing I love about coaching is like it closes the gap, right? Because you could probably do some of this stuff on your own. You could probably Google some stuff or YouTube some stuff, but you're gonna fail more times than necessary. Right.
Yeah.
A coach is like a guide, right? Like you go to visit a foreign country, you get a tour guide. You don't just hop off the bus and start walking around.
Right.
You get a tour guide because a tour guide has been there before. They've walked that path. They can tell you, hey, there's a cliff over there. Don't go too far. Quicksand right there. Hey, there's a rope. Swing over that thing. Like they can kind of guide you in a way that keeps you safe from harm. There's going to be failures no matter what, right? It's going to be hot on the trail. Like it ain't the tour guide can't put a shade over the top of you, but they can tell you where the nearest shade tree is on the path. And that, like, closing the gap and erasing some of those unnecessary mistakes, is super important. It expedites the process. So if you're trying to move from one stage to another, it's nice to get there fast. You know what I mean? You could take the Greyhound from California to Florida, but they got flights going out every night. You know what I mean? You don't have to go that way. So hey man, look, I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you're busy. And we've been going back and forth trying to put this thing together. Yeah. So I'm glad that you hit me like, hey, and forced me though. Like I was like, cause I'm like, yo, today I didn't plan nothing. I'm finna chill with the family. Like I was literally in the bed, covers on, like, yo, I'm just chilling. And like when you said it, like, it convicted me immediately. Like, yo, you're supposed to be doing this. Like, don't make no excuses. Like right now, figure it out right now. So I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you giving me that coaching this morning, giving us this message, right now of purpose and fatherhood. And I super appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I'm watching you keep going, man. Some people start this process of what you're doing and they stop, man. I think it's some great work, man. I've been paying attention to what you've been doing, just like career-wise, family stuff. So, man, you keep doing it as well, man. I appreciate you, bro.
All right. Hey, man, I'm going to let you go enjoy the hotel room. Set the thermostat to like 70-ish, like nice and cool and crisp. And enjoy it, right? And then I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, bro. Appreciate you. Peace.
All right, man.